Hey everyone, it's Mafalda and welcome to a new vlog. So I've been seeing a lot of people on BookTube do these vlogs where they read certain celebrities' favorite books, and I just really think that's a great idea, honestly, and I've been loving watching those. And I noticed that no one had done one for Miley Cyrus, and since it's my brand, I just had to do it. Last year, I did a vlog on my channel where I read Miley Cyrus's book, Miles to Go. I have it here on my channel if you want to check it out, and I had a lot of fun doing that video, and honestly I wasn't expecting it to have a lot of views, but it has 1,000 views, and I just had a lot of fun doing that. And I feel like doing this video of reading celebrities' favorite books and reading Miley Cyrus to me is perfect. So I started researching about Miley Cyrus's favorite books, and even though she has done a gajillion interviews, no one has ever asked her what her favorite books are. So I was at a dead end, and then I just started searching for Miley Cyrus reading, Miley Cyrus reads, Miley Cyrus books, and it was a really intense research. And I ended up finding some things, obviously, but not a lot, because Miley Cyrus reads, she does, and I feel like she has been reading more since the pandemic started, but she does have a lot of pictures of her reading or just like with the book, but you can't really see what the book is. So that was a big problem. I was finding a lot of pictures of her reading, but not a lot of them had the title of the book. I also found a news article that was mentioning her reading a supernatural book after breaking up with Liam, and this was back in October 2019, and she shared a picture of her playing the guitar outside, and you can see a little glimpse of the book. And the book is called Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza, and it is basically a spiritual book. Then last year Miley went on Joe Rogan's podcast, and it was a 2-hour podcast. I listened to the whole damn thing, and she did mention some books in that podcast, and the ones that caught my attention were Change Your Brain, Change Your Life and The Brain in Love by Dr. Daniel Hammond. And she actually mentioned in the podcast that the first book, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, she actually saw at an airport, and she just decided to pick it up on a whim, and she read it and loved it. And now the author of the book, Dr. Daniel Hammond, is her therapist, so I thought that was really funny. And these two books are non-fiction self-help books. The first one is a more like self-improvement kind of book, and the second one is focusing on love and relationships. And then thankfully in my research I found the Twitter page Miley X Destiny, and they were a lifesaver. Every time Miley posts something about a book, a quotation, anything, they post about it on their Twitter page, and they post what the book is. And so I found a couple of books that Miley has been reading lately in the last couple of months. I found that Miley read Emotional Advantage and posted it on her Instagram stories. I found that she read A New Earth, Awakening to Your Life's Purposes, which she also posted on her Instagram stories. And then I found two books which I thought were super interesting, that she posted a picture of reading these two books in the last couple of months. She's already rocking the mullet, and one of them is about the band The Cure, and it is called Cured, The Tale of Two Imaginary Boys. It's a biography about the band The Cure, which I know nothing about, honestly. And then she also posted a selfie of her with Debbie Harry's memoir called Face It. And yeah, I also know nothing about Debbie Harry. Debbie Harry is the lead singer in the band Blondie. At that point I had figured out that Miley only reads basically nonfiction, and most of them are self-help or spiritual books. And then I found that she also likes like memoirs and biographies about her artists that she really loves. And in the same realm I found a picture that she posted on her Instagram page in 2015 if I'm not mistaken, and she like posted a bunch of like books that she had bought, I think, and two of them were also biographies about artists that she really admires, one about David Bowie and the other one about Johnny Cash. And with all of this information I found out that Miley likes nonfiction books, self-help books, spiritual books, and memoirs or biographies about artists that she really admires. The only two times that I found that she read fiction books were, first of all, the infamous picture of her holding the Hunger Games book that she read back in like 2011 or something, and I love that picture so much because it's like two of my worlds colliding. And obviously I've already read The Hunger Games, so I'm not gonna read it for this video, ago, and I also found a tweet that she posted in 2012 that she said, "Reading 50 Shades of Grey next to the oldest dude ever, hashtag awkward." And I love Miley a lot, but I'm not gonna read 50 Shades of Grey for her. Like, that's a line that I'm not about to cross. Those were the only two fiction books that I found that she has read, and also in the picture in 2015 that she posted on her Instagram. In the picture are Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, classic poetry, and classic fairy tales, and I don't know if she has read those books, so I'm not gonna count those. So that's what I found on my very intense research about Miley Cyrus's favorite books, or just like favorite genres, or like books she has read, or anything. Just give me anything. I have literally crumbs here. And with all of this information, I made a reading list for me. I picked 3 books out of the books that I know Miley has read in the last couple of years, because I don't want to read a book that she has read like 10 years ago. That doesn't make sense. So the first book that I'm going to be reading is Change Your Brain, Change Your Life by Dr. Daniel Hammond. And this is a self-help book. This was published in 1999, so it's almost my age. I'm kind of afraid that this is going to be super outdated. It's probably going to be, and yeah, I am not looking forward to reading this book because I feel like I'm not going to enjoy it. Also, the reviews on Goodreads are super mixed. Like, people give it either 5 stars or 1 star. So I'm interested in seeing where I stand on this book. But this is the book that made her contact Daniel Hammond, and eventually he became her therapist, so I just thought it was a very important read. I don't know. Then the next book that I'm going to be reading is Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza, and this is a spiritual book. And there were a lot of news articles about her reading this book after breaking up with Liam, which was a big thing in her life, like the last breakup. And I just thought it was important because of that, honestly. And I've never read any spiritual book ever, and I'm an atheist, so I'm pretty skeptical about these things, but I will give it a try, and I'm kind of interested in seeing how this book is written and sold. So yeah, that is the second book that I'm going to be reading. And the last book that I'm going to be reading is Face It by Debbie Harry, and this is a memoir about Debbie Harry's life. And I love reading memoirs, so that's why I picked this one. And also it's on script, so I can listen to the audiobook, which is narrated also by Debbie Harry. And I normally read memoirs about people that I know, so it's going to be interesting reading a memoir about someone that I know nothing about, but I'm probably still going to enjoy it. I love learning about people's experience in life, so yeah, that is the last book that I'm going to be reading. So I'm going to be reading a self-help book, a spiritual book, and a memoir, and that is basically what Miley reads, so I think it makes sense. These may not be her favorite books ever, but at least I know that she has read these books, so I'm going to be reading like Miley Cyrus for the next week, and wish me luck because I don't know how this is gonna go. Hello everyone, so I have some updates on my reading. I've been listening to the audiobook for Face It by Debbie Harry in the last couple of days. I'm almost at the end. I'm probably gonna finish it either today or tomorrow, and I'm really liking the audiobook. I love when memoirs are narrated by the actual person, and I am just really enjoying my experience of it. I've been flying through it, honestly, and I've been not only learning a lot about Debbie Harry and Blondie, the band, but I'm also learning a lot about like the 70s in New York and all the artistic scene during that time. And something that really surprised me about Debbie Harry's story, which just makes sense in terms of like time, she's almost 80 I think right now, and it's the fact that she met and she was friends with so many icons, people that were already long gone when I was born, so I feel like they were from a completely different time from mine, but they were only from like 50 years ago. People like Andy Warhol and Jean-Michel Basquiat, she was really good friends with both of them. For example, she also met the Beatles, and she met with John Lennon before he was assassinated, and it just makes sense because she's 80, so she was living the punk and rock scene at the time that they were doing their thing, I guess. So it just makes sense, but it's still weird for me to like listen to her say that she was really good friends with Andy Warhol. Like, oh my god. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm really enjoying getting to know more of Debbie Harry, and I can tell why Miley likes her so much because I feel like they have not similar lives, but similar approaches to life and experiences. And yeah, Miley really likes her. In her last album, Miley covered the famous song by Blondie, Heart of Glass. Before I started listening to the audiobook, I knew that Blondie was a very famous band. Obviously, I had heard of them, but I didn't really know what songs they had. But now I'm just, wow, they have so many hits. So I was really surprised when I discovered that I knew a lot of their songs already. I just didn't know that it was by Blondie. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm probably gonna finish it tomorrow, like I said. And the next one that I'm going to start is Becoming Supernatural. I'm not sure if you can see that, but I have it as an ebook and I'm going to start it tomorrow. I think it's pretty short. I think it's like 200 pages or something. The subtitle to the book is How Common People Are Doing the Uncommon, and I honestly have no expectations for this book whatsoever. I didn't even read the synopsis. I just know it's a supernatural and spiritual book. So I'll probably start reading this one today, and I will catch you guys up when I have some thoughts or when I finish the book. So I'll see you guys next day. Hello everyone. So it has been a couple of days since I last updated you on my readings, and a couple of days ago, I think it was after I filmed my last clip, I actually finished listening to Face It by Debbie Harry, the memoir I listened to on audiobook, and it was a really good audiobook. It was a really good memoir. Although I gotta say that I always really like memoirs. I just think it's a very interesting format. It's just interesting knowing other people's lives, especially when their lives are super interesting, like Debbie Harry's is. I think at the end there were some things that could have been cut out from the book because they weren't that interesting, and she was kind of like rambling at the end of the book, honestly, but it was still super good, and I give it 4 out of 5 stars, which is a really good rating for me, especially considering this isn't a person that I'm like a fan of, so it was still really good. And then the next day I started reading Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I have some unfortunate news about that. So I'm currently 46% through with the book, and I have to DNF it. I just have to. I'm not enjoying it at all, and I just have to be honest with myself, and I'm not gonna pretend I'm liking this book because I'm not, and I'm not gonna force myself to finish a book that I'm not enjoying. And I was kind of surprised by this realization because I was really going into this book with an open mind, and I was actually kind of curious about this book, but already in the first chapter I was kind of thrown off by some things that were said. So basically, in the first chapter, it's about a woman named Anne something, and it's about her story, and after her husband killed himself, basically she is thrown into a lot of debt because he was in a lot of like financial issues. So she gets really depressed, and she starts getting all of this medical conditions. She just starts getting really unhealthy, not only physically but also mentally, and she's in a really bad place. And then she also is diagnosed with cancer, and then one day she discovers Dr. Joe Dispenza, and she goes to one of his like workshops that he does around the country, around the US, and basically she starts adopting Joe Dispenza's methods, like meditation methods, and she starts like meditating and taking better care of herself. And this whole story is told like it is based on a true story, but then he said that she didn't go through with the cancer treatment, so she didn't go to chemo or anything. She just left the cancer do what it does, and with meditating and with Dr. Joe Dispenza's methods, the cancer was cured. And I just don't believe that at all. And I had already said that I'm very skeptical about these things and like these supernatural and spiritual things. And I'm not completely disregarding all of this information, but I feel like the mind and your mindset can help you to a certain degree. And that's my issue with this book. And like I said, I read half of the book, and the book is all about meditation, and it gives you a lot of exercises, and it also provides you with a lot of medical research and conclusions and studies and everything. And again, in the last chapter that I read, Dr. Joe Dispenza brings up a lot of other people that have been doing these meditations, and they were helped in various different ways. And one of them was it was a woman that had eczema, which is a skin condition, and it is said in the book that she gets cured of her eczema with meditation. And well, I gotta say that I don't believe most of this, and I do understand the power of the brain and how powerful it is, and how much changing your mindset and changing how you perceive yourself and the world can help you in various aspects of your life. Like, there's a chapter that he talks about kind of like the law of attraction, that if you want something and you set your mind to it, you can achieve that, but it's not as linear as he makes it be. Like, it's not like you want that thing and you will get it. Sometimes you won't, and that's just the reality of life. Because I feel like all of the information and all the examples that he gives are very set in stone, and it's like, if you want this, you do this and you get it. And if you want to cure your cancer or your eczema or some medical condition that you have or that you were born with, you just have to change your mindset and change how you perceive life, and those things will go away. And sometimes it's not like that. And also, I feel like the book gives you a lot of medical and scientific research to kind of make you believe all of the stuff that he's saying in between it. At least that's what I felt like, because I haven't dealt with science in such a long time. So having all of these like scientific facts thrown at you, it would just kind of like throw me off. And I feel like that's the point of the book, is just like all of these scientific and medical facts for you to get confused and kind of believe the information because there is scientific proof to back it up. But sometimes it's not really like that. So yeah, I'm a very big skeptic about this book. So yeah, long story short, I'm not really enjoying this book, and I'm not gonna force myself to continue to read this book, because if I'm not enjoying it, why bother, you know? Especially because I feel like the rest of the book is going to be very much the same tone that it has been up until now. So I just don't feel like going through that all over again. So I'm gonna stop reading it now. I'm out of focus because I have no light. Okay, so it's getting super dark out, so I'm back. But yeah, I'm not gonna continue reading this book. I think I got the gist of it, and I didn't really like it. I feel like I'm going to give it like a 2-star, which is not good for me. So yeah, so I guess that was my second read. The first one was a success, this one not so much. And the third book that I had set out to read, I'm kind of not feeling it, to be honest. It was Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, and I had already said in a vlog clip earlier that I just don't feel like I'm going to enjoy that book as well. I was kind of hoping that this one I would enjoy more than that one. But if I didn't like this one, how am I gonna feel about Change Your Brain, Change Your Life? You know what I mean? And a few days ago, I actually saw an interview that Miley did a couple of months ago when Plastic Hearts came out. It's an interview with Zane Lowe, and it's an hour long. I watched the whole thing, and on that video Miley mentioned another book, and I was thinking of not reading Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, but reading that one instead, because I am positive that I'm not going to enjoy Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, especially because it's such an old book and I think it's going to be so outdated. So I am instead going to read The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself by Michael A. Singer. And actually, funny enough, I had this book on my TBR on Goodreads a couple of years ago. I think I took it out of my TBR last year when I did like a cleanup of my Goodreads account. And I had it on my TBR because a couple of years ago I saw Jen M on YouTube make a video. I think it was like books that change her life or something like that, like books that she really likes basically. And I think she has since done a couple of more of those videos, but I saw that first one. In that video, she mentioned a lot of books that I had already read and that I really enjoyed, and then she also mentioned this book, so I was kind of like, if she likes all of these books that I also enjoy and she liked this one, maybe I'll also like it. And she just mentioned a lot of positive things about this book and that it was really good and it changed her perception of a lot of things in her life. So I had put it on my TBR, but then last year I was looking at my TBR and I saw it there and I was just like, maybe I'm not interested in it anymore. But now that Miley has mentioned it and said that she really enjoyed it, and since I'm looking for another read that she also likes, I think I'm gonna read that one, especially because it is on script and right now it's the end of the month and I kind of don't feel like picking up a physical book, or an ebook even. So I think I'm going to listen to that one on audiobook on script. I think the audiobook is 6 hours and I'm going to start listening right now actually. And I just really hope I enjoy this one because the last one was kind of a fail and I haven't DNF'd a book in a while and I kind of feel bad doing it, but I'm just not able to push through any more than I already did. I was kind of hoping that I would get to 50%, but I got to 46. It's good enough for me. Also, I've been super red on my face every day, like all day every day, and I don't know what it is, but it's annoying me and I just feel super hot. Not in the good way. So I have the audiobook here and I'm gonna start listening to it now, so wish me luck. Hello, so I have more updates to give you on my readings because I started reading, like I told you, The Untethered Soul. I started listening to the audiobook and I think I'm an hour and a half from the end, so I still have an hour and a half to go. But I'm probably gonna finish it right after I film this. And my thoughts so far is that Dr. Joe Dispenza from Becoming Supernatural wanted to write something like The Untethered Soul, but he just wasn't able to because it does mention a lot of the same things, especially with energy and how the things that you want you can like attract with energy. But I think he just explains it, but I think the author just explains it in a much simpler way, which is a lot more interesting and engaging for the reader, because with Becoming Supernatural I was just kind of super bored. The writing was not super dense, but it had a lot of like scientific facts and scientific evidence and whatever and studies. And for someone who doesn't read scientific books at all, it wasn't engaging to read about how the brain works. And I get that it's interesting in knowing what he explained later, but at the same time, what the author of this book, which I don't know the name of right now, Michael something, is doing is a lot more engaging for someone who doesn't read scientific studies and medical stuff and science. I don't know. And also something that The Untethered Soul does a lot, which I really enjoy. He's giving much more broader examples of the things that he's explaining, but in a way that you can relate to most of the examples, so you could easily apply the things that he's saying and that he's suggesting, I hate this word, to your life, because you like can relate to the stuff that is happening. With Becoming Supernatural, he was like, this person had eczema and then she did these meditations and it helped. And I'm like, I don't have eczema. How is that gonna help me? And so I think I'm connecting with this book a lot more, even though it's really not my cup of tea still. I think I'm gonna give it like a 3-star, which is a really good rating. It's a fair rating for the stuff that I read. And honestly, I would recommend this book to people. And I'm not really one for self-help, but this one is just done really well. And I get why it has such high ratings on Goodreads, and also the audiobook is pretty great. I love the narrator, and I would consider this one more of self-help than spiritual, even though it is categorized as both on Goodreads. I would consider this one more self-help because it's giving you practical examples of how you can apply the changes to your life. And I feel like with spiritual books, they tend to get very preachy, which is really what I don't enjoy. So yeah, I will continue listening to the Untethered Soul right now, and I will give you my thoughts on this experiment at the end. So I'll see you guys later. And to close out this video, I had to do Miley inspired makeup. I am wearing the same makeup that she's wearing in her Apple Music interview that I've mentioned earlier, because when I was watching that interview, I just couldn't stop staring at her makeup and how beautiful it looked on her. So I decided to try the same thing myself and do this like eyeshadow wing thing, which I think it looks kind of cute, honestly, but it doesn't look as good on me as it does on her, which is unfortunate, but it is just how it is. And I'm here to close out this vlog because yesterday I finished reading The Untethered Soul, which was the book that Miley mentioned in the interview that I was speaking of, where she looks like this, which is actually funny. And yeah, I gave it 3 stars. It was a very like middle of the road book for me. It was a good self-help because I don't really read a lot of self-help, and usually I'm very skeptical about most self-help books because I just feel like they're all too generic. And although this book was a bit generic, it was still enjoyable. I really enjoyed listening to the audiobook, and I just think it puts your life and your relationship to other people in perspective. And I kind of recommend this book honestly to anyone. If you're looking for a self-help book, this is definitely one that you could consider reading or listening to. I definitely recommend the audiobook, which is where I consumed the book. And so that concludes my reading like Miley Cyrus for a week vlog. This was actually a really fun concept and idea, and I feel like everyone is doing this right now on booktube, and it's just so fun to see other people do other celebrities in their favorite books. I read 3 books. So I read Face It by Debbie Harry, which I gave 4 stars, which was my favorite out of the 3 basically. Then I read DNFed Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. I gave it 2 stars at the end. I read half of the book and I figured out it wasn't for me at all. Then I read The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. I was supposed to read Change Your Brain, Change Your Life, but I figured that that book probably wasn't for me as well, and I probably wouldn't like it, so I put it off for now. Maybe I'll read it one day for some other project. But that book is from '99. I felt like I wasn't going to connect with it, and it was going to be outdated and just like super general, so I decided to pick up The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer, which Miley also has read and really likes. And I gave The Untethered Soul 3 stars, which was okay for a self-help book, and it was like the middle of the road for these 3 books. And it was just super nice to know what books Miley likes to read, because these are definitely not the books that I usually pick up. I definitely have a very different reading taste from Miley, especially because most of what I read is fiction, and she doesn't read fiction at all from what I gathered, and she only reads nonfiction. I hope Miley never comes across this video because I will be embarrassed that I didn't really like the books that she reads, but you know, that's just how it is. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you haven't, and I will see you on my next one. Bye!